Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're diving into some serious geopolitics with Peter Zeihan's Disunited Nations.
Oh, yeah.
It paints a picture of a world on the brink of a major shakeup,
Right.
the potential collapse of the American-led global order.
And what makes Zeihan's work stand out, I think, is that he claims we're not on the verge of this collapse.
Right.
We're already in it.
Wow.
The world as he sees it has already run out of time.
That's a
Yeah,
that's a bold statement.
it is.
So before we get into the nitty-gritty,
Yeah.
remind me what exactly is this order that Zeihan talks about.
Well, think of it like a vast web of interconnectedness woven together by American power after World War II.
Okay.
But unlike traditional empires, the U.S. didn't directly control other countries.
Right.
Instead, it offered what Zeihan calls bribes.
Okay.
Military protection, economic support, and access to its massive market.
So countries were basically incentivized to play ball.
Exactly. And it worked remarkably well.
Yeah.
Creating a period of unprecedented global peace and economic integration.
Right.
This is the foundation of what we call globalization.
Yeah.
But here's the catch. Zeihan argues that America's willingness to maintain this system is fading fast.
Okay, so why is that?
Right.
Is it just about shifting political winds?
It's more complex than that.
Okay.
Zeihan points to a confluence of factors. Waning public interest in global affairs,
Mm-hmm.
a shift in domestic priorities, and a sense that the U.S. has overextended itself on the world stage.
So America's pulling back,
Right.
and the bribes that held this order together are disappearing.
Exactly.
Zeihan breaks these bribes down into 4 key carrots. Where do we even begin with those?
The most obvious one is the security guarantee.
Okay.
The U.S. military, for decades, has been the world's policeman,
Right.
deterring aggression and keeping the peace, especially for its allies.
It's like they were providing a global security blanket.
Right.
But what happens when that blanket gets pulled away?
That's where things get interesting. The second carrot was underwriting global trade.
Yeah.
The U.S. Navy, by protecting shipping lanes, essentially made the world's economy go around.
Yeah.
Without that protection, global trade becomes much riskier and more expensive.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And that brings us to the third carrot, right?
Yes.
The U.S. acting as a market of first and last resort.
Exactly. The sheer size of the American market provided a safety net for producers worldwide.
Right.
They knew they could always sell their goods to American consumers.
Yeah.
That stability is now in question.
Okay, so security,
Sure.
trade, and access to the U.S. market are
Mhm.
all on shaky ground.
Right.
What's the fourth carrot that's starting to disappear?
The stability of the global financial system.
Okay.
The U.S. dollar, for a variety of reasons, became the world's reserve currency
Right.
that provided predictability and fostered interdependence.
Yeah.
But as the U.S. retreats, the future of the dollar's dominance is uncertain.
So these carrots are being pulled back, and the
Right.
entire system is starting to wobble. But Zeihan's argument goes deeper than that, right?
It does.
He connects this to something he calls the resurgence of geography.
He does,
Mhm.
and that's where we really get into the meat of his thesis.
Okay.
For decades, globalization allowed us to downplay the importance of geography.
Mm.
You could access resources and markets across the world with relative ease.
Right.
But as this system fractures,
Suddenly where you are on the map matters more than ever.
precisely things like access to natural resources,
Yeah.
arable land, navigable waterways,
Right.
even defensible borders, these become critical factors once again.
Wow.
It's almost like we're going back to the future, to a world where geopolitics is determined by who have what and where they're located.
You've piqued my curiosity.
Good.
If this is the new reality,
Yeah.
who are the winners and losers
Right.
in this geographical lottery?
Zeihan lays out some fascinating and sometimes surprising contenders, but that's the conversation for our next segment.
Okay, so the world's going back to a geography is destiny kind of mindset. Let's talk about who benefits from this shift.
Okay.
You mentioned Zeihan highlights some surprising winners.
Yes.
Who tops the list?
Well, it's not necessarily about a single winner taking over,
Right.
but rather countries that are well-positioned to navigate this new landscape.
Yep. Okay.
One that Zeihan highlights is France.
France. Really?
Yeah.
I mean, they're a major player in Europe, but
Okay.
on the global stage,
That's where the geographic advantage comes in.
Oh.
France has a diverse landscape, access to crucial waterways, and they're relatively secure. Plus, they've maintained a robust and independent military, including nuclear weapons.
so they can go it alone if they have to.
Yeah, if they need to.
But aren't they dealing with the same aging population issues as the rest of Europe?
To a lesser extent,
Oh,
actually.
okay.
Their demographic outlook is more stable,
Right.
which is crucial for maintaining a productive workforce and a strong economy in the long run.
So France has the resources, the geography, and the people.
They do.
What about their position in Europe?
That's key as well.
Okay.
As other European powers like Germany and the UK face their own challenges, France could emerge as the leader on the continent. It's a dramatic shift in the balance of power.
That would certainly shake things up in Europe.
It would.
But Zeihan also mentions a winner that truly surprised me. Argentina.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, they've been plagued by economic and political turmoil for decades.
That's precisely why they're so interesting.
Okay.
Argentina is a prime example of how a disordered world can completely reshuffle the deck.
Right.
Think about it. They have vast natural resources, from fertile land to mineral deposits to offshore oil and gas.
So they've got the raw materials to be a major player.
They do.
But hasn't their geography always been a problem? I mean, they're so far away from everything.
In the past, that was a disadvantage.
Right.
But in a world where global trade routes become less reliable,
Yeah.
Argentina's distance becomes an asset.
Interesting.
They're relatively isolated from major conflict zones and have access to crucial shipping lanes.
It's like they've been waiting in the wings for the world to rediscover their potential.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And their demographics are also working in their favor.
Okay.
Their population is aging, but at a much slower pace than most developed nations.
Right.
That's a huge advantage in the coming decades.
Okay, I'm starting to see how Argentina could become a powerhouse in this new world.
Yeah.
But let's talk about those who might not fare so well.
Okay.
You mentioned Russia as one of the countries facing a potentially bleak future.
I did.
Yeah.
Why is that?
Russia's problems are deeply intertwined.
Okay.
Their geography, while vast, is also incredibly vulnerable.
Okay.
They lack natural defenses and have a long history of being invaded from both east and west.
Right.
And their demographic situation is even worse.
So it's not just about military might or economic power.
No.
It's about people.
Absolutely. Russia's population is shrinking rapidly.
Wow.
And that has a ripple effect on everything.
Okay.
Their workforce, their military, their tax base. It's like a slow-motion collapse. And I recall reading that their economy is heavily reliant on energy exports.
That's right.
Yeah.
And as the world transitions away from fossil fuels,
Right.
Russia's economic lifeline becomes increasingly precarious.
Yeah.
Plus, any disruption to global shipping lanes could cripple their ability to export those resources.
It seems like everything is working against them.
Zeihan certainly makes that argument.
Yeah.
He suggests that despite their nuclear arsenal, Russia is likely to decline into a regional power struggling to maintain its territorial integrity and facing a future of economic stagnation and internal turmoil.
That's a stark contrast to the image of Russia as a resurgent global power that we often hear about.
It is, but it highlights how this shift in global dynamics could upend conventional wisdom and create some unexpected outcomes.
So we've got France and Argentina as potential winners,
Yes.
and Russia as a potential loser.
Right.
Who else stands out in this new world order?
Well, there's another country that might surprise you. Japan.
Japan. They've been grappling with economic stagnation for decades.
Right.
How do they fit into this picture?
That's what makes Japan's story so compelling.
Okay.
Despite their economic challenges and aging population,
Yeah.
they have some unique advantages that could make them a major player in this disordered world.
I'm intrigued. What are these advantages?
Well, first and foremost, Japan is a technological powerhouse.
Okay.
They have a long history of innovation and a highly skilled workforce that gives them a significant edge in developing and adapting to new technologies,
Okay.
particularly in areas like robotics, artificial intelligence, and renewable energy.
So they could become a leader in the industries of the future.
Absolutely.
Wow.
And their geography also plays a crucial role.
Okay.
As an island nation, they have a natural defense against invasion.
Right.
Plus, they control vital sea lanes in the Pacific, which will become increasingly valuable as trade routes are disrupted.
So they have the technology, the geography. What else is working in their favor?
Okay, Japan is facing a growing security threat from a rising China.
Right.
This has forced them to rethink their pacifist stance and rapidly rebuild their military capabilities.
So they're becoming a military power again.
They are, and Zeihan believes that, given their history and current trajectory,
Yeah.
they could emerge as a major military force in the region,
Okay.
capable of challenging China's dominance and securing their own interests.
It's a pretty significant shift. It sounds like the world is about to go through a major realignment.
It does, doesn't it? And as we continue exploring Zeihan's analysis, we'll delve deeper into the implications of this potential shift for the U.S. and the rest of the world. But before we move on,
Okay.
there's one more country I'd like to highlight. Turkey.
Turkey. I know they've been making headlines lately,
Yeah.
but I haven't really thought of them as a potential global power.
That's understandable.
Mm-hmm.
But Zeihan makes a compelling case for why Turkey could become a dominant force in the region,
Okay.
especially as the U.S. retreats from its global commitments.
Okay, I'm listening. Why is Turkey so well positioned to benefit from this disorder?
It all comes down to their geography, demographics, and, let's be honest, a healthy dose of ambition.
Okay.
Turkey controls the Bosporus and Dardanelles Straits, which are the gateway between the Black Sea and the Mediterranean.
Right.
That gives them incredible leverage in a world where maritime trade routes become increasingly important.
So they hold the keys to a crucial choke point.
Precisely. And they're not shy about using that leverage to their advantage.
Right.
We've already seen them asserting themselves in regional conflicts in Syria, Libya, and the Caucasus.
So they're not just sitting back and waiting for things to happen.
Right.
They're actively shaping events in the region.
Exactly. And their demographics are also working in their favor.
Okay.
Turkey has a relatively young and growing population,
Mm.
which gives them a significant edge over aging rivals like Russia and Europe.
So they have the people to back up their ambitions?
Yes.
What about their economy? Can it
That's it.
support their aspirations?
Their economy has shown resilience and a capacity for growth,
Right.
despite facing some challenges.
Right.
Plus, they're actively pursuing energy independence, which will be crucial in a world facing potential energy shortages.
It sounds like Turkey has all the ingredients to become a major player on the global stage.
They certainly do, and Zeihan believes that Turkey, under its current leadership,
Yeah.
is actively pursuing a neo-Ottoman strategy, seeking to reclaim its historical dominance in the region and to project its power beyond its borders.
This is all pretty mind-blowing. It seems like the world is on the verge of a massive transformation.
It does.
But all this talk about winners and losers, shifting power dynamics, and the resurgence of geography,
Yeah.
it's a lot to take in.
It is.
What does it all mean for the average person?
Right.
How will this disorder, as Zeihan calls it, actually impact our daily lives?
That's the key question, isn't it?
Yeah.
We've laid out the broad strokes of Zeihan's argument,
Mm-hmm.
but the real challenge is understanding what it means for you, for me, for everyone trying to navigate this increasingly complex world.
So where do we go from here?
In the next part of our deep dive, we'll explore the tangible consequences of this disorder.
Okay.
We'll look at how this shift might affect things like global trade resource availability and the likelihood of conflict.
Okay.
We'll also examine what role the U.S. might play in this new world
Right.
and consider what steps we can take to adapt and thrive amidst all this change.
Okay, I'm ready for more. Let's dive into the practical implications of this geopolitical earthquake. All right, let's get down to brass tacks. We've explored the potential winners and losers in this new world order.
Right.
But I think what really hits home is how this disorder might impact our daily lives.
Yeah, absolutely.
Where should we even start unpacking that?
Well, you've already hit on a key point.
Okay.
The resurgence of geography.
Right.
It's not just about which countries have the best resources or the most defensible borders.
Yeah.
It's about how those factors will reshape the global landscape in ways that directly impact our lives.
Okay, give me an example.
Sure.
How does geography suddenly become something we all need to be thinking about?
Well, think about the things you rely on every day.
Yeah.
Food, energy, the products you buy.
Right.
For decades, we've benefited from a globalized system that made it possible to source these things from all over the world.
Yeah.
But as this system becomes less stable,
Mm-hmm.
those supply chains become vulnerable.
So instead of that bag of coffee coming from Colombia or that phone being assembled in China,
Right.
we might be looking at more localized production.
Exactly. And that has a ripple effect.
Okay.
It could mean higher prices, limited choices,
Right.
and even shortages of certain goods.
Wow.
But it also presents an opportunity
Okay.
to rethink how we consume and produce
Yeah.
to build more resilient and sustainable local economies.
That's an interesting way to look at it.
Yeah,
It's like this disorder forces us to become more aware of where things come from and the interconnectedness of the global economy.
precisely. And it's not just about physical goods.
Oh.
The flow of information and capital will also be affected.
Right.
Think about the internet, for example.
Yeah.
For years, we've assumed it's this borderless, decentralized network.
Right.
But as geopolitical tensions rise,
Yeah.
we're likely to see more attempts to control and regulate the internet, with different countries or regions establishing their own digital spheres of influence.
So even the digital world, which we thought was immune to geography,
Right.
is going to be impacted by this shift.
Absolutely. And that has huge implications for everything from online commerce to freedom of speech to national security.
This is starting to feel like a pretty dramatic reshaping of the world as we know it.
It is.
But I'm curious, amidst all this change,
Yeah.
what happens to the U.S.?
Right.
Do we become isolationists? Do we try to cling to our superpower status? Or is there another path?
Zeihan argues that the U.S. is facing a pivotal moment.
Okay.
We can't simply maintain the status quo. The world has changed, and our role in it needs to adapt as well. He suggests a more selective and strategic approach to global engagement,
Okay.
focusing on our core interests and forging alliances with those who share those interests.
So it's not about being the world's policeman anymore,
Right.
but more about choosing our battles wisely.
Exactly. And it means recognizing that we can't solve every problem or intervene in every conflict.
Yeah.
We need to be more judicious about where we deploy our resources and our military might.
But if we're pulling back from our global commitments, won't that create a power vacuum?
Right.
Won't that just lead to more chaos and instability?
That's a valid concern.
Yeah.
But Zeihan believes that the world is already moving towards a more multipolar system,
Okay.
with regional powers filling the void left by a retreating U.S.
So it's not about a single country replacing the U.S. as the dominant global power.
No.
It's about a diffusion of power.
Exactly. And that presents both challenges and opportunities.
Okay.
It means a more complex and unpredictable world,
Yeah.
but it also creates space for new alliances, new partnerships, and new solutions to global problems.
This has been an incredible deep dive. It's both fascinating and, to be honest, a little unsettling to think about the scale of the changes that might be coming.
I agree.
But I appreciate you walking us through all of this. Is there anything else you think we should keep in mind as we try to make sense of this new world order?
I think the most important takeaway is to stay informed,
Okay.
to be aware of the forces that are shaping the future, and to be open to new possibilities.
Right.
This disorder might be unsettling,
Yeah.
but it also presents an opportunity to rethink our assumptions, challenge old ways of thinking, and build a more resilient and sustainable world.
That's a hopeful note to end on. So what does this all mean for you? The world's changing. Are you ready? That's something for you to ponder as we sign off. Thanks for joining us on the Deep Dive.